had a fantastic commodity and risk management program out of their headquarters. And we were able to leverage that to help us to make smarter commodity buys. And by making smarter commodity buys, we manage costs without impacting our quality. Also, they have a great presence in Washington, D.C., so on regulatory affairs or anything that could possibly impact our supply chain on a regulatory basis, very helpful in that. When we wanted to open a restaurant up in China, they had a global presence, and they were able to help us not only with their products, but tell us other suppliers there that were legitimate that we could talk to use them as resources. So another thing you can do to help manage costs without sacrificing quality is find out your suppliers' worldwide capabilities and how you might leverage those things to help you manage your costs better. Again, it's communication and collaboration. So, here's something else. How do you define your supply chain? So I started listing supply chains that we manage. There's at least 10 of them out there. And every single one is different, which requires in some cases all of common skills, but different applications and different knowledge. So start thinking about those things you manage. And typically we focus on those A priority items, but there's a lot of money to be saved in those C priority items too. If you have the time to get there. And I can tell you, I've done it over the years. I remember the first time I did a regression analysis on the correlation of contract development and cost savings to justify positions. It's pretty hard to refute. The more things you controlled in your spend, the more you by definition can manage costs. And the other thing is, the more you are controlling them as supply chain professionals as opposed to those subject matter experts. For example, maybe it's the marketing person that thinks they can really negotiate great contracts because they know something about marketing. That'd be like saying the chef should be negotiating all the food contracts because they touch food. Not so much. Right? It's another one of those, really? You think you can do that? Case in point. Our operations team has conferences every year. And in the case of Chili's, 3 conferences for our general managers. So they spread them out across the country. Last year, those conferences cost roughly $1.2 million to put on. And it was negotiated by someone within the operations team that because they coordinated the conference, it was assumed, well, they're a subject matter expert. They should negotiate the conference for the contract for the conference. So this year we said, hello, new sheriff in town, we'd like to do it differently. We can provide a resource. You tell us what you want in that contract in terms of what you're looking for from retail or whatever. We'll negotiate the deal. So on a $1.2 million span, how much do you think you got off of it? $600,000. Now, you can say, well, that was a really bad job by the person that did it the year before, or we did one hell of a job. It was probably a combination thereof. But the point of it was, people that aren't really supply chain professionals, they may take the relationship side of it too far, as opposed to asking those tough questions and driving into what the contract should look like and what should the details of that contract be, and trying to negotiate a better program. And oh, by the way, they didn't take all the money and put it in their back pocket. What they did is they enhanced the conferences with it. They invested the money back into it, which is that any company can make. You can take savings and put it right back in the quality of the service in this case. But that was real money found. Even something like alcohol, which I don't drink that much. I really drink for medicinal purposes. Okay, anybody working on that? Thank you very much. It makes you a better, more well-rounded person. But alcohol distribution is totally different than food distribution. The vast of the United States, it's called a three-tier system. Except in Texas, which we're special, we have a four-tier system. So what does it mean? You have the manufacturers or the producers of the products. In Texas, you have what's called a Class A, which is only 2 of them in the state of Texas. All hard liquor has to go through a Class A. You can also get wine and beer through a Class A, but you don't have to. Because there's a beer distribution network. Anheuser-Busch has their own distribution network. The Class Bs, they have to buy the hard liquor from the Class As, but they can also carry wine and beer. And then you have the retail outlets, which is the restaurant. So if you have the manufacturer, the Class A, the Class B, and you have retail outlets. That's a lot of stuff to deal with in a distribution system. So produce is different, all this stuff is different. Different skills, different people, similarities, commonalities, but they're not the same. And so part of the way you might be able to save money without compromising your quality is truly identifying all your supply chains and where's the opportunity, where's the low-hanging fruit, and go after it. But you got to have the visibility to tie it all the way back to that. It was pretty amazing on the liquor side. So where do you look? I've talked about it in a very broad-based sense. Something more specifically. You like this from the Google there? Right. You got to have a sense of humor in this stuff. I mean, we all work hard, and it's really busy, and there's pressure on us. But you know what, folks? At the end of the day, it's just stuff. Right? You know, you can deal with stuff. You know, if it's a serious illness, or death in the family, things like that, that's materials and things. But if the supplier's late, it's just, don't get excited. Figure out a solution. Right? You can manage this. So where do you look? I talked about the visibility of the supply chain. It starts with that. You've got to be able to see your supply chain and understand all those intricacies. And then how many of you have done process mapping and analysis or value stream mapping? Right? I mean, that stuff works. Maybe I'm just reminding you about what you already know, but go back and do it again. Because when you start to do that, you will find opportunities. And by definition, if you're doing value stream mapping or process mapping, it's collaborative, it's cross-functional, and you're getting a lot of smart people together in the same room and having a conversation. And that's what it takes, because you can't know everything, but collectively you can know everything that you should be looking at, and you can find those opportunities. So I'll talk about each one of these. Brandon, how am I doing on time? Doing well. Assistant. If you really like what I'm talking about today, you can thank me. If you don't like it, talk to Brandon. So, another cartoon character. Look at that. Superman. Visibility. Data. Data is powerful if you know how to use it. How about something as simple as, are you paying what you agreed to pay for? So, using Applebee's as the example. Years ago, come in. They didn't have visibility. We got visibility. We looked at everything we were buying. I mentioned the C items before. Boy, were there games played on the C item level. Because that typically wasn't what we were looking at. We invested about $250,000 to staff up a team that would sift through that data and understand what we were paying into who. Do you know that from the year we put that team in place, we never found less than a 7-figure return on overcharges. Overcharges, because people put the data into the systems at some level. And here is something we found truly interesting. We had a distributor network at one level. We were what we call regionally opportunistic, so we had a variety of companies that served us, but there were some companies that were common. And this group, I think they had 3 distribution centers out of at that time when I first started there were 30. And what we found is every time we